What's going on, everybody? Trev2323 here. Today we're going to be tackling the front shocks on the Chevy Astro. I already lubed up the bolts on it twice this week already with the WD-40, the high specialized one for rust. Two 13 millimeters hold the bottom of the shock in, one 15 millimeter holds the top. I know everybody shows it breaking it off. I'm going to try doing it a different way since I assessed the situation. One thing that I did want to show you, I gas charged for the front that I'm going to put on the front, but the back ones, if you notice, the back of my Astro van is a little bit higher than the front of it now. That's an 02. They're known to have ass sag on them where the back of it lean down a little bit. Well, I put the heavy duty ones on the Monroe Sensatrack heavy duties with the spring around it on the back, and it actually raised the back of the van up some. Now also, if you notice the difference on the tires on the back, let me see if I can get closer right there. Those are actually 235/70/15. They're 235/70/15, so they're supposed to be smaller, but these are the 215/75/15s, and the 235/70s with their aspect ratio are actually bigger than the front ones. So I'm going to change the front shocks now. It's not going to lift the van anymore. They are gas charged heavy duty, but they're not the towing or adjusting ones that are on the back. So bear with me here. Let me go through everything, show you how I'm going to do it. What's going on? Trev2323 here again. We got the video last week of doing the back shocks on the van. So today's going to be the front ones. Now I heard all over horror stories, all over the internet, how bad these were. So I was assessing the situation. First thing I want to do is measure it, because the back one was raised up a little bit. I don't think the front one's going to raise up at all. So that right there is 29 inches, and what we are putting on them is we're putting the gas charged heavy duty on these. These are actually Monroe. They don't say Monroe on them, but the subsidiary Monroe is Tinoco, and these are Tinoco, but these are the gas charged heavy duty ones. They're filled with nitrogen. One of the problems that people have is being able to get to the top of the shocks. So they cut it off, they got to break it off. So before I take this tire off right here, I was looking, and you can see the top of the shock right here. Go in there. There's the top of the shock right there. So my theory is I'm probably going to get a Sawzall in there and actually cut it off, or start to cut it. Right there, you can see. That's the top of the shock mount. I did put WD-40 on the bottom ones already 2 times this week. And then even before I brought it in here, I loosened them up yesterday. The 2 bottom nuts are 13 millimeters, and this top one is a 15, but the top one more than likely is not going to come off. So I'm just here assessing the situation, see the easiest way to get there. If I can get through it without taking the tire off right now, or if I have to take the tire off. Alright, I'm still working at this. I'm trying to actually troubleshoot to make it a little bit easier, but all I'm finding right now is what everybody else is saying. See, if you drop the van with the tire on it, you can see it from underneath here. Right underneath here, you can see the strut you need to cut. So I tried using a Sawzall to cut it with the tire on it, but I still couldn't get the damn angle. So I just had to tap that on there because it's rusted so much. I think I cut some of the nut down, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to try to go up and down with this right now, put a breaker bar on this, and then see if I can break it. Okay, I'm home right now editing the video, and what I didn't record actually was with the Sawzall. I had the Sawzall with the tire on and turned outward. I was able to get the Sawzall to the nut itself. Now I got a basic Sawzall tip to it. If I would have put the Sawzall with a longer blade, I would have got to the nut better. But seeing that I had the shorter blade, I had to kind of finagle it in there and just kind of barely see what I was cutting with the Sawzall. And right when I seen kind of smoke coming and little shavings, I knew I was actually on the nut. One other thing to do would be, now that was with the tire on with the wheel out. One other thing to do with the tire off and with it jacked up is to get a Dremel or something with a little circular blade, maybe the size of a quarter or $50, and put it inside the hole on the top of the mount right there, like where you can see the bolt at. Put the little Dremel in there and sideways, and go in sideways at the bottom of that nut, because right when you get that nut halfway through, halfway off, a little bit through, it breaks really easy. Now I did videotape how without it cutting, so that will be in here also. It actually bent pretty easy. Oh man, you would not believe how easy this thing is bending. Hopefully it's bending and not the socket. Just that easy. Oh my god, it broke right off, just that easy. I did cut through some of it though, if you can see, let me show you. I cut through some of it right there with the Sawzall, and the rest of it just snapped right off, just that easy. Okay, now it's time to get the bottom ones off. Let's see if we can look through this, see what happened there. Can't even see myself. Broke the nut right off right there. See that? Broke it right off, so that's loose right there. You see on my markings with the Sawzall what I cut. Okay. Now, the next is to get these 13mm nuts off right here, which I already put WD-40 on, so they should come off no problem. I'm hoping you could kind of see this right here. Try to angle it the best I can. I actually loosened these up yesterday, but I put WD-40 on them the past 2 times this past week. So these actually should be able to, oh, sorry about that, come right out. Got my new camera, and my wife told me, don't mess up your new camera, it's just that easy. Coming right out. Yeah, these look really rusted, they look like the worst, but what I did is I put WD-40 on them, the rust breaker of the WD-40. I put that on them 2 or 3 times this week, and it, I mean, these things just, like you said, you seen, I didn't put any pressure, nothing like that, they just came right off. And then hopefully the van's high enough, and you move this to the inside, and it should come right out like that. And Bob's your uncle. There you are right there. Okay, you can see I actually had a Sawzall that much through, and then the rest of it just broke right off. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm trying to figure out ways to make this a little bit easier, and it was a little bit more harder, not harder, but to angle that Sawzall, fighting to get the right angle of the Sawzall. If you have a smaller Dremel with a more solid disc, it'll be easier to access this and just get enough in there so you don't have to be breaking it on and off every now and then. But let's see, everybody does this, see if it goes in and it doesn't come back up, and that's why it's a bad shock. It was actually hard to go down, but it didn't come back up at all, so we're gonna put the new one on right now. Alright, before I put anything back together, I assess the situation here, and the bushing that you have here, if you look at it, on the bushing there's a small end and a fat end. Okay, so when I took the other one apart, the fat end is sitting on the bottom and the small end is sitting on the top. So that's the exact same way I'm going to put this one. And then this right here is going to go with the fat end all the way on the top, the washer, and the nut right there. Now other shocks have a lock nut to hold this down, and this one doesn't. So what I did is I bought Loctite to go on here, and I'll explain why. Okay, I'm back under here right now. Get some more light here. That's where the screws are going to go. And this is the shock. So hopefully this fits in really good. Yes, it goes in, so I don't got to jack it up anymore, because you need enough room to put these on here. Now you got to try to fill your way through there. Just make sure it goes in. Heck, this is the blindest part I'm trying to do right now. Okay, I got it in, I think. I'd venture to say I'd have it in. Yep, I twisted it around, and there's where the nuts are going to go. Now before I go ahead and put these nuts completely tight, I'm going to put them in to hold it and go make sure I'm at the right spot on the top. See the piston right there reaching through? There's like no way to get to this at all. So this is why it makes it so hard. Okay, then you come up to the top. Let's see if I get some light in here. Make sure the stem's sticking through there, and the stem is sticking through there. So you put the top rubber bushing on and the nut. Now this is going to be hard to get to tighten up, so I'm going to show you a different way I'm going to tighten it up. Okay, there I got the bushing on and the nut on. I'm going to snug this as much as I can right now. Now you can't just torque down on that nut, because that piston will keep spinning. You got to put vice grips on that stem in order to keep spinning. I'm going to get this as kind of tight down as I can right now, Then I put the tire on and drop it, and finishing tighten it up from underneath the A-arm. Okay, I was actually able to put a socket on there and get it down pretty good without that stem turning. So I was doing it a little bit by hand with the box wrench, so I realized that the stem wasn't turning. I put a socket on there and got it down as quick as I could. Now these top stems on most vehicles have lock washers, a second nut that goes on the top to lock it in. This one doesn't, and if it's your first time doing it, yeah, you'd worry about that thing vibrating right off. So what I actually got is, this is almost like the bootleg version of Loctite. I prefer Loctite, but all they had was thread blue. What this does is you put it on, it takes 24 hours to cure, and when you tighten that bolt down, say you put 50 pounds of pressure or 40 pounds of pressure on that bolt, it's going to take the extra 50 pounds of pressure or 40 pounds to get that bolt off. But on top of that, if it does wiggle loose, this will stay on the threads, and it'll take about 10 pounds of pressure per turn in order to get that off. So I'm going to put the thread locker on to make sure that it don't just wiggle off with vibrations. Alright, the blue thread locker is the one that you can get back off. The red thread locker is the one that you need to heat to 500 degrees to get off. And all you gotta do is put it on one side. You put it on one side, because then when you put the nut on, it'll lube it all the way around it. I'm gonna get the nut back on now. Okay, and it puts it all the way around it. Now if you keep torquing this nut down right here, what's gonna happen is the piston's gonna spin. So what I'm gonna do is put the tire back on, drop it, and put vice grips on it, then to torque it down. Okay, I'm glad this video's over, because this kind of what my tail putting the nut back on. But I got the tire back on right here, because with the tire back on and with it lifted, I got the vice grips on the top of the stem, and I used the box wrench to tighten that thing right there. But yeah, I was told that it was gonna keep spinning if you didn't have the vice grips on it. So I was with the box wrench, a quarter turn at a time, a quarter turn at a time. You know, they got the one that goes down and curves. If you could fit that in at the top, you still need a needle nose, like needle nose channel locks to hold that top stem, because they say the stem will turn. Well, you know what? This stem right here didn't start turning. Let me get these vice grips off so you can see better. That stem didn't start turning until it was bogged down pretty good. I actually put a 15mm long stem on the top of it and tightened it up really good, and that stem didn't start turning until it got snug. Then I put the vice grips to tighten it up all the way. Also, I got tread locker on it. So Bob's your uncle. This side is done. I gotta take this tire off, straighten it out, put it on properly. To tell you the truth, this would have took me a lot sooner. One, if I would have done it before, and two, if I would have found out a way to break that nut. With the Sawzall, it did help it break off really fast, but it was hard to get the angle. If you got a smaller grinder, put it in the top little hole right there, and then just grind it enough to get at it. 2 or 3 turns, you'll snap it right off. The other side, I'm going to try to snap off without cutting with the Sawzall, since they were pretty rusty anyways. But that's bogged down pretty good, and I got tread locker on it, so it shouldn't rattle loose. Okay, this right here, before I forget, we lifted the front of the van, so don't forget to block your wheels. You don't want your van rolling off backwards when you're trying to lift the van. I lifted the van a couple times. I actually tried to do stuff to see if it could be a little bit easier, or how. It was a little bit easier cutting that bottom of the, you know, that little top of the nut. I forgot my jack stands at home, so we did block it with wood. Don't get under your vehicle without blocking the things. Also, I normally go to a regular mechanic, and he normally torques, because he knows with my tires, I hate if you're on vacation and you can't get that lug nut off if you get it flat. So normally my tires are torqued. My lug nuts are torqued to 100 pounds of pressure. These front ones were super hard. What I did is I had to have a cross on it, and I was holding the cross on the nut, and my father took a 6x6 to hit the cross just to break it loose. That's how we had to get these first lugs off. But they should only be about 100 psi. But check your manuals. They may not all be 100 psi, but I know this van is 100 psi.
Break them every time you take a tire off.
Yeah, and if you take your car to the shop, I got a video on that. If you take your car to the shop and they do your brakes, they do whatever, before you leave that shop, make sure you break them loose so you can get them off, so you won't be like me. That took me about extra 5 minutes just to get that tire off. Alright, thanks for watching. I'm going to do the other one without videotaping because I need to get this done. Alright, what I wanted to show you here was I didn't... let me get this out. I didn't really think there would be a difference, but I finished putting the shock on, and actually it lifted it right between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. Almost 1/2 inch it lifted the van with the new shock on. That's how the other shock was just so bad. So believe it or not, once I put the other new tires on, it's gonna lift the van probably total about 3/4 inch with the other new tires on it. So the new shocks really help. I wanted to put the shocks on before I put the new tires on because I didn't want the new tires bouncing all over the place and ruin the tires. So I put these on, lifetime warranty shocks. I'm going to do the other side without cutting it with the Sawzall, see what happens there, but I'll keep you posted on how that is. I just want to get this done with now. Bye. Alright, this is just to count how many times I showed you how to take it off and put it on. Let's see what we're going to do here. I didn't Sawzall anything. Alright, you've seen how I moved the pipe to towards the back of the van. When I was going back and forth, I did it, man, maybe about 30 or 40 times, and it's like you couldn't really lift it up enough, but you could push it down. Okay, but if you push it towards the back of the van, you could push it down to bend it a lot more. One other thing with the socket on there is don't even try to push up. What you do is you push it down, you bend it, twist the socket so the bent screw could turn the other way. Push it back down again. Twist the socket so it can face the other way. Bend it back down again. And bend it towards the bottom back of the wheel well. Got it off. It was easier to come down in this corner over here, and like the other guy said, ratchet around because you're not going to get an upswing, so use your ratchets to turn around where it's higher to pull it back down. Ratchet, pull it back down. It's off already. Broke right off in there. Alright, I got the tire on now. You can see the top stem. I mean, it is tight to get in there. I put a socket on there, and you could actually bog that down pretty good with the socket without the stem twisting. Now here's the thing, and this is what amazes me, is you could put it down and you could tighten it up with the tire off. But once you put the tire on and drop that van and the bushings compress, there is so much more you can twist. I put the socket back on and I twisted some more and twisted some more. So I twisted it to where I feel comfortable. This van don't got the lock nut on it where you can put 2 lock nuts together and twist it. I used the Loctite and I put it on there, and after I dropped the van, I tightened it up some more with the what the hell is it, with the socket, and then I put the vice grips on and tightened it with the box wrench from underneath, from right here. So this, believe it or not, with the other side, I try to do stuff to make stuff easier for YouTubers or for do-it-yourselfers. What I would say to do, what I learned to do is, I figured with the Sawzall that I could cut that bolt just right off with the Sawzall. But the angle to get in, I mean, that was with the tire on just like this. The angle to get in with the Sawzall was still kind of hard to get in there. All right, let me get the light back on here. Was still kind of hard to get in there. That's where the bolt is at. But I was able to get in there, yeah. And if there was a longer blade, for sure you could have got it with the longer blade. It's way back there. I don't know if you can see. Let me get the light on the top. For sure, with the longer blade, you could have chopped it off. But what I was able to do is I was able to get enough where I cut the nut like maybe even 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch in. So it took 3 turns with the thing, and I broke it right off. Now if you're doing it the other way, where you just put the socket at 15mm socket and bend it, it's easier if you twist the socket around, like with the socket, where you bend it down, twist the socket around, it's going to go up, bend it back down, twist the socket around, and bend it down. One other thing to make your job easier, if you wanted, where the hole is at the top, right there, is use a small grinder, a Dremel with a decent sized wheel though, a small grinder with a Dremel to get in and cut the bottom of that nut, because with that nut broken, 3 things that broke right off. Either way it goes, that's my theory, and that's what I did, how to do it. Go ahead and comment, see what you liked, what you didn't like, and make it easier, not easier. Hopefully it helped you get some information. This side right here, just by going up and down, took me maybe 10 minutes to do the 15 minutes to do the whole job, and it took me longer just because I want to make sure that top nut ain't going anywhere. But to put the shock in and put the nuts on took me maybe 10 minutes. The other side took me longer because I was trying with the Sawzall, trying to see if I get a grinder or whatever to see if I can make it anywhere easier. Nothing's easier than just breaking it off up and down with the thing, unless you get a little Dremel to cut that little nut little bit. All right, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.